Hey, what's going on YouTube and night? It is time to wake up. This is the start of a new series of videos I'm going to do on this channel showing some typical play style clears of the bosses in Hollow Knight, talking about their attacks and how to avoid them, as well as showing a no-hit run of the fight. So without further ado, let's super dash over to today's boss, Nightmare King Grimm. Nightmare King Grimm happens to be my overall favorite boss in this game, and between that and the fact that I frequently see people asking for tips about the fight, I thought this would be a good one to start on. I'll tell you up front that while I have beaten this fight on Radiant difficulty, this video and this series is aimed primarily at beginner players or people who are trying to pick up a new trick or two as they battle in Godhome. As a disclaimer, specifically we are talking about Godhome, so when it comes to the equipment options, I'm going to assume you have all the charms, all the upgrades to your nail and movement, health masks, and soul. In Godhome, Nightmare King Grimm has 1250 health on the Attuned difficulty and 1650 health on the Ascended and Radiant difficulties. According to his wiki page, he also has 1500 health outside of Godhome, but again, this video is focused on in Godhome only. Grimm has 6 different attacks and a stagger that we will go over and show on screen, and it's also worth noting he has counter movement if you get too close to him before he attacks. His attack pattern is random, but once you learn his telegraphs, you can learn how to react to each move in time. So let's take a quick look at his attacks. The first one we're going to look at is his Fire Bats attack. With Fire Bats, Grimm is going to teleport to a location on the ground, often assuming a crouching position for a moment, even if he doesn't move backwards, and then he raises his cloak, opens it, and fires 4 bats in a high-low pattern. Often he does move backwards, which is a clear sign he's going to use his bats. Generally, I let the first pass me, jump over the second, dash over the third, and then with the fourth, I just kind of time it so that I can hit him with an attack at the end of it. If you have a nail art charged, you can hit him with a dash slash at the end, or just hit him 1 or 2 times. And if you're too close to him when he starts attacking, he will skitter backwards and let 2 bats out, teleport, and let 2 more bats out. So it's really best to approach after he's already fired 2 of his bats. And you can see on the screen what that looks like. The next attack we're going to look at is his Dive Dash. With Dive Dash, Grimm teleports to the top of arena and prepares for a dive at you, then he waits and charges at you. He does have a fire trail that does contact damage, and usually I try to avoid the dive, then pogo off of him as he dashes to get back into position. Next is Dash Uppercut. This is my favorite. He's going to charge at you, fly up, and then drop fireballs everywhere. Check this out. I learned a while ago that if you hit him just before he flies up, you can position yourself to avoid the fireballs with 0 effort. If you miss, you still might want to scoot back a little, but don't go too far back or you will likely eat a fireball. Next is Cloak Spikes. This is his easiest attack to avoid. Spikes are going to pop up out of the ground and then shoot all the way to the top of arena. It's a very quick telegraph, but you can easily scoot out of the way. You might even get a single heal in here if you're quick and already in a safe position. His next move is Flame Pillars, and I think this is his most annoying move. He's going to teleport up, but not quite as high up for the Dive Dash, and then he's just going to float there. And then Fire Pillars will erupt underneath you. If you kind of stutter walk to him, you can force them to spawn in such a way that you can avoid the attacks and make it safe to approach him. Or if you can run up under him and then dash past him through the Fire Pillar, it's risky, but you could get some hits in. Or if you have the soul for a Descending Dark, you can use it under him to avoid one pillar and then dash out of the way while doing damage at the same time. His next attack is Pufferfish. This is his threshold attack. If he's low on health, he will teleport to the middle of an arena and inflate. And if you're standing there, you can quickly get an Abyss Shriek in for damage, but then get out of the way quick to avoid the fireball spread. I tend to move to the left. He is immune to nail damage here, but you can hit him with spells. And there's a brief window at the end where if you dash at him, you can hit him with a dash slash if you have it charged. You should see about 3 Pufferfish attacks throughout the fight. Next, we're going to take a look at his stagger. Now, when you cross his health threshold, any attack he's doing is going to be interrupted automatically, and you can safely do a 3 heal here. If you don't need to heal, you can attack the bat with the red eyes to do some bonus damage, or just take a break and get ready for the next phases. You should see several staggers throughout the fight, about 3 of these. Let's talk a little bit about the charms I'm using on this run, and then I'll show you the no-hit so you can see how we put all this together. The first charm that we're going to look at is Mark of Pride. This helps you with positioning, and it helps you not get too close to him and allows for those dash uppercuts to push you back into place to avoid the fireballs. Soul Catcher is there to help you collect soul during the fight. That way, when you see a good time to use spells, you have soul to power them. Shaman Stone is going to give you more spell damage, which is obviously good. And then Quick Slash allows you to get rapid hits during the tight damage windows against the boss. You can certainly change things up if you need to, but this is the build that I'm going to try and show for most of these fights. I feel like it's just kind of generically good. Now we're going to go ahead and show the fight. I'm going to do the battle on attuned difficulty just so you can see it all in action. For this fight, I like to try and get to the middle and stay there as much as I can. This allows me to be flexible and counterplay Grimm's attacks. He moves very, very fast, so I'm not going to describe everything he is doing, but the tips that I showed earlier are fully in play here. A couple things you want to look out for. Watch how the nail hits that I do on dash uppercuts allow me to avoid the fireballs. Watch for times when I use Descending Dark on the flame pillars. That way I have those invincibility flames and can get out of the way. Notice how I try to get to the middle so that I'm always ready to do an Abyss Shriek when he does Pufferfish. The rest of it is all watching and learning and developing muscle memory. If I ever needed to heal, I would do it during the threshold staggers, right, or during the nail or the cloak spikes. You can get 3 heals in during a stagger and 1 during a cloak spikes if you have the time to do it. Really, the hardest thing about this fight is just learning the timing and the distance that you need to keep from him. I also know that if you do this fight outside of Godhome, you can't quite use the build that I am showing you here because you have to have the Grimmchild charm equipped. You can simulate that in Godhome if you really wanted to by just equipping Grimmchild. Grimmchild will not work during this fight, or just taking off, you know, Shaman Stone or some other three-notch charm, and that will give you kind of a close approximation to, you know, not having Grimmchild or not having the full build. We're getting pretty close to the end here. You know, we're going into our 3rd Pufferfish, and we'll be able to see the end of the fight here in just a moment. And there we go. We did it. It's time to let the night roar in victory here. And we got our no-hit, so we can go back to the bench. Hopefully that's useful to you so you can see some ways you might be able to avoid some of these attacks. Now, could this be a more efficient clear? Could this be, you know, a little flashier or a little fancier? Absolutely. Spells are obviously really, really good, and if you can work in more of them, it's a good way to push the fight faster. However, I found earlier on that it was more useful to me to learn the timing and how to react to his tells, and then start finding ways to get more spells in my rotation. If you're interested in seeing more of this type of content, let me know in the comments. So, like, which bosses would you like to see next, or would you like to see a different charm build, or what are the charms that you like to bring against Grimm? We'll see you next time.